is QuickBooks Online right for your client? So let's talk about the people that are already using QuickBooks Desktop or the people considering an accounting solution, period. So the first question is, do I suggest that to everybody? Do I tell every single client that they should be working with QuickBooks Online? And the answer is no. Okay, there's a couple of really important points. One is, first question you need to ask is, are you comfortable with working online? If you have somebody that has general skepticism about the security of anything that's online, or general skepticism about working on the web, or somebody out there works in the boondocks. I have a client that works with horses, and it works way, way, way outside of civilization, and the cell phone reception is horrible, internet reception is horrible out there. Obviously, not a good fit. So that's a really important thing. Are you comfortable working online? Are you comfortable that you have to have an internet connection at all times to be able to work? The other one is, mostly service-based businesses have no issues going to QuickBooks Online. However, heavy inventory and product-based businesses could fall a little short with QuickBooks Online, just because QuickBooks Online is not really meant to handle robust inventory management. So there are some apps that can help with that, but the core product itself is just not meant for that type of industry. So it's mostly for service-based business. Now, also someone that wants a low maintenance, low cost solution in which they don't have to make a huge investment into a server or anything like that to be able to work remotely. Anyone working on the go with mobile phones that wants to access their accounting software from the mobile phone, and also likes to work with third-party applications and sync third-party applications, all those would be a good fit for QuickBooks Online. Now, QuickBooks Online has something called the ecosystem. Okay, QuickBooks Online is a single core accounting platform that connects to multiple applications. For example, you can have your customer database from QuickBooks Online, talk to Constant Contact, and send all your customers a newsletter. Or you can have QuickBooks connected to your bank, download transactions overnight in a daily basis, and prompt them to be uploaded into QuickBooks directly. You can sync QuickBooks to your PayPal accounts, to your Shopify accounts, and automatically download those transactions. So that's the concept of QuickBooks, is making it an open platform, allowing third-party developers to create solutions for it. Now, it's also mobile ready. The only version of QuickBooks in which you can access data from an iPhone or an iPad is QuickBooks Online, or an Android phone or Android tablet as well. Is QuickBooks Online. There's a limited amount of information, of course, you can do on a phone or a tablet, but you can do the most important things, which is, check customer balances, create an estimate on the fly, or attach receipts by taking a picture of a receipt into a transaction straight from your phone. So then it shows up in your accounting system with that document as a backup. Now, QuickBooks Online Accountant, just adding the word accountant there. That extra service called QuickBooks Online Accountant, it's a portal in which, and we're going to do a demonstration of the software soon in the next 5 minutes or so. It's a portal in which an accountant can log in, they can see all their clients, and they can perform additional functions. So that's kind of the purpose of creating a separate product just for accountants. All right, so let's talk about QuickBooks Online Accountant. Before I do that, there's a link there that says all elements of the demo can be found on the supplemental guide. Let me go ahead and copy and paste this link. I'm going to paste it into the chat box so you can download, and I think that's already been sent to you, but you can download that PDF guide. That's really useful. That's a step-by-step PDF guide that is going to cover all the things that I'm going to cover. Let me go and switch to QuickBooks Online Accountant now. And let's go to, okay, you should be able to see QuickBooks Online. Okay, Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now you should be able to see QuickBooks Online, not the presentation anymore. And this is basically what it looks like when you first log into QuickBooks Online. So a couple of the components. Okay, we have on the left side, we have an area called Your Practice. This is where you're gonna configure or change the settings or access any of the information related to your practice or your clients. So the first option here called Clients, we click on that, and that's going to take me to the screen that you're seeing here, which is a list of all the active clients you will have in QuickBooks Online. Now, you can create clients that don't have QuickBooks Online just to have them there, just to have your database of clients in a single place. And that's actually pretty simple. You just click on the Create button in the top, or you click on Add Client, and it's going to ask you for the client's name. So let's call it here Hector Garcia, and we'll call it Garcia Corp. Okay, so I'm basically adding a client. Okay, and I'm not going to make it a QuickBooks Online account. I'm just going to add it to the database, and I can pick and choose what I want to do. So I click on Next, and then it says, what QuickBooks products do they have? I'm going to leave that blank, and then click on Next, and then click on Save. And then basically that's just going to add a client to my database. Now that's not going to have any functional use other than having it in the database, a place where you can add notes. So you can add a note saying, client uses Excel for accounting and will send me reports at year end. Okay, so the only purpose that this has is basically a place where you can add a client and add notes and have the database of information, and that's it. So that's just a database of clients. Now, there are some clients that are going to have a QuickBooks logo like this one. Any clients you see with a QuickBooks logo, those are the ones that have an active QuickBooks Online file. Now, that active QuickBooks Online file could be something that we create as the accountant for our clients, which in some cases we pay for, and we'll discuss that a little bit later on when we talk about the pricing model, or sometimes the client pays for it. Now, there are two ways to add clients into your database. One is to create the client just the way I created the other one from scratch, or two is get invited by the client if they already have an active QuickBooks file. Okay, so to get invited by a client, normally, let me just show you what it looks like on the client side. So normally to get invited by a client, they go to the gear menu, and up here where it says your team, it's going to say users. So let me go ahead and log out just to I kind of show you what it looks like from end user's perspective. So I'm going to log out and log into one of my clients just to kind of give you an idea what that looks like. Okay, so I'm logging into QuickBooks as an end user. So this is what end users see, which is a little bit different than what accountants see. Accountants see that big green line across the top, and end users don't see the big green line across the top. Hopefully you noticed that when I made the switch. But when accountants log in, when clients log in and they already have a QuickBooks file that was created from before, they're going to click on where it says Manage Users. And you may have to give them these instructions verbally. You may have to say, hey, Mr. Client, please go into the gear menu and click on Manage Users, and then click on where it says Invite Accountant, and then add my name and my email in there. And then you as an accountant are going to get an email invitation, which you're going to have to accept. And once you accept it, let me switch back into my QuickBooks Online Accountant file. Once you accept it, it's now going to show up in your main client list. Again, this is when you have a new client that already had QuickBooks from before interacting with you, and now you want to add them into your portal. So that's this one that's here. Okay, that's this one that's here. And now you should be able to see your client from here. And from the screen, you can do a couple of things. So again, let me just make sure that there's no confusion here. If you have a new client that does not have QuickBooks Online already, you're going to create a new company file from scratch, which we're about to do. Give me 5 minutes and we're about to do that. Okay. If your client already has a file from before they interacted with you, whatever it happens to be, they have to go into Gear, Manage Users, and invite you by putting your name and your email. Then you have to receive an email, confirm or accept that invitation, and then at that point, you're going to see them right here in your portal. Now, why do you want to see them in your portal? So you can access it without having to have a separate username and password, or so you don't have to use your client's username and password, and also so you can do specific bookkeeping work under your name, and your client can see the difference between what they do under your name versus what they do under their own name. So you don't want to log in under your client's file. Now, if you're doing the bookkeeping work for your client and your client never accesses QuickBooks, they don't need to look at it. You're just going to present financial statements for them. You would create it through here, but just you wouldn't give them access. So let's talk about that. Let's create a new client. I'm going to go ahead and click on this button that says Add Client, or I can click on the gearbox and click on Create Client. So this is to create a new client, a new QuickBooks file from scratch. So let's call this Taco Truck LLC. So let's say I have a new client, which is a taco truck. Then I'm going to click on Next. Then it's going to ask me QuickBooks Products. At this point, because I am creating it from scratch, I am going to now select the actual product that I want for them. Now, there's 6 options here, and there's going to be some slides towards the end where I explain some of the features of each one. And our cert prep course goes into much deeper detail about the difference between these. But in a nutshell, just to make it, just give you the most basic answer is Essentials is going to have accounts payable, accounts receivable, banking, and basic financial statements. And Plus is going to have, in addition to what I just mentioned, it will have inventory management, purchase orders, budgets, and a couple of extra reports. Okay, job costing, that's what it was. Job costing and a couple of extra reports. So you have to choose between these two. Also, Essentials comes by default with 3 users. So your client can have up to 3 employees accessing QuickBooks, and Plus comes with 5 users. So just quick Reader's Digest version of these two. Now, if I select Essentials, here on the right side, it's going to tell me what the regular price is. This is what the client will pay if you actually set it as something your client will pay. And then your price as an accountant if you pay in behalf of your client. So if you're including QuickBooks Online cost as part of your service, not passing down the cost to your client or not having the client directly pay, this is a fixed cost that you have to now incur as part of your service. Okay, really important. Now here where it says billing choices, it gives me 2 choices. It says my client will pay or my firm will pay. If I select my client will pay, it's still going to give your client a discount for a limited amount of time, 30% for 6 months, but then it's going to kick back into the regular price of $30. So this is where you make a choice where you put my client will pay or my firm will pay. Just so you know, when you put my firm will pay, it's a consolidated bill under wholesale billing. We can discuss that a little bit later on when we go through this slide. So I'm going to click on my firm will pay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put myself as the master admin. So that's another important piece. If you are paying for it, you should be your own master admin because the master admin is the one that can create other administrative users, can cancel the subscription, that sort of thing. But if your client will pay, then usually you make your client the master admin. But you can choose who is the master admin and who will pay all from here. So then I'm going to click on Next. Then the next slide asks me, well, which of your employees within your organization will also have access to this client. So we can discuss that. We'll get into that a little bit later on. So we'll just leave it like this. We'll talk about managing a team soon. Let me go ahead and click on save, and that will create the client. Now, because I put my firm will pay, remember that little checkbox that says my firm will pay, um, I would have to put my credit card information in there. Okay, so I can just real quick, because this is a sample file that I'm working with, I'm going to go ahead and put my client will pay, and then later on my client would have to put their credit card file in there. So you can still follow through and create the account and put the credit card information later. So at least you're not sort of forced to put a credit card number right there, and then you can keep moving, keep following through. Okay, perfect. So now I should see, I'm going to go ahead and search for truck here, or taco truck. There's my client. Now there's no data. You see there's no account data. We just created the client, brand new. We haven't put any initial balances. We haven't put any transactions. My client is there, but it is an active QuickBooks subscription. And the way I know it is because we see a QuickBooks logo with the word Essentials here to the right. And that's how you know it is an active QuickBooks subscription. Okay, so let me go ahead and click on the Essentials link here, which is now going to open the client's QuickBooks file. So I'm no longer logged in into my accountant portal. I'm now inside my QuickBooks file, right? Now, there are some basic settings that you have to go through. So if your client logs in before you, they can go to the setup as well. But it's good that you do it for your client, especially if you are going to pay for it. Just do it for your client is much better. So you're going to put a name, address, phone number, zip code. Industry is really important, okay? Because the way QuickBooks knows what type of accounts to use in your chart of accounts, it would be based on that industry. So in here, we're going to put, what do you sell? Products and services. I select that. Business type, let's put there that this is a partnership, and let's say this is a brand new business, less than 1 year, and we'll hit next. So QuickBooks will do its magic on the back end. I can just click on next and next to the next windows. I don't have to press any of those buttons, and this is going to finish working through and create that company for you. Okay, while that does, let me answer a quick question. Somebody says, if Rosa's asking, if a firm pays, does QuickBooks send an invoice to the customer, or are you responsible for paying that? No, if you select my firm will pay, your customer has nothing to do with paying QuickBooks. You get the invoice, you as an accountant get the invoice, and you have to pay for it. You're responsible for it. Okay, your client would not be involved in any of the billing mechanism for it. So you would have to include that as part of the service. Okay, now somebody else is asking, Cindy says, well, what if it's no longer my client and I'm paying for the account, but they're going to go to another accountant, or they're going to do things on their own? Can I transfer that billing to my client later on? The answer is yes, absolutely, you can do that. No problem. So that's a really important question. Thank you for asking that, Cindy. Somebody says, if your industry is not listed, what do I pick, or how do I pick a chart of accounts? So one of the industry options that it gives you, it just says product business or service business. So you select a generic product business or service business, and that will create a generic chart of accounts for you. Somebody else is asking, wait, are you saying that if I have 10 clients in QuickBooks Online, I have to pay for 10 accounts? The answer is yes. QuickBooks Online is per client, monthly fee per client, okay? And you choose whether you want to pay for it, your client pays for it, and you can pass down that cost into your client and itemize it if you want to, or just make sure that you have enough in your monthly service fee to cover for that cost, okay? And you can, so the answer is yes, you can charge your client whatever you want. There's no law or limitation on what you can charge your client. Okay, so back into the demo. So there's my QuickBooks setup for the first time. Because I created the account, then I have to choose if I want to invite now my client to access it. So what I do is I click on the gear menu, and then I click on Manage Users. Okay, so again, I went to Gear, Manage Users, and then from here, what I can do is I can click on New, this little New button, and in the New button, and then I have to disable the pop-ups because that usually happens. But when you click on the New button, you can invite your clients and users. Let me go back here. So what I can do is that I can invite my clients end users. So I can invite the owner of the company, their bookkeeper, their salespeople, whatever, right? Whatever. You can invite them here. Remember, there's a maximum of 3 users on the Essentials edition and a maximum of 5 users on the Plus edition. And you can add extra on the Plus, and you can go all the way up to 25. So this is where up here, this is where I would add my client end users. And if I have to add an additional accountant, let's say, for example, I'm the bookkeeper, but there's another person involved in doing the taxes, I can also invite them through here. So those are kind of the 2 options are here on the managed users, and that's a really important thing. The other important thing to do when you first create the QuickBooks file for your customers is to go to the Gear menu and click on Account and Settings. And we're going to have a couple of options here. Under Company, this is where we add the tax ID, where we add the legal name, where we can add the official company email where invoices get sent to, phone number, website, address, all that sort of information. Under Billing and Subscription, this is where you know what version of QuickBooks you have, whether it's Essentials or Plus. It lets you know if you have a payroll add-on, if you have payments add-on, and this is where you can add your credit card information or cancel the trial, because you do get an immediate trial that gets set up when you first create the account. Then there's a couple of settings here under Sales. You can pick and choose some of these options here if you want to see certain items on your invoices. Expenses, a couple of settings here on expenses. Payments settings on the payments under advance. You can change fiscal year. You can close the books from here. So you want to go through all those settings as a first exercise to just make sure that that whole thing is set up right before you get your client to start using. The other common place where people go when they first set up a QuickBooks file from scratch is the chart of accounts. So I'm going to click on the Gear menu on the top right, click on Chart of Accounts, and this is the initial chart of accounts that gets created when you first set up your QuickBooks, and then you can create more accounts from here. So if I want to create some expense categories, some bank accounts, I can just click on the New button up here, and then I can start creating some accounts. So I can create my bank account here. I'm going to call this Chase Checking, and then click on Save and Close. And then there's my Chase account with a 0 balance. I also could have created that with a beginning balance. So when I first had the chance to create the account, I could also put a beginning balance. Let's say, for example, we're going to start doing their book starting November 1st, and the beginning balance is $25,000. So then I would literally just put November 01, 2016, and that's the beginning balance. And QuickBooks will basically create that initial entry, so you have that starting balance the way you're supposed to. Now, I don't want to get too much into the details in how to do accounting and stuff like that in QuickBooks Online. That's actually not part of this presentation. We're just talking about initial setup, creating a new file from scratch. So let me jump back into my QuickBooks Online Accountant portal. And to do that, I'm going to click on the big green button on the top left that says Accountant. That's going to send me back into my portal where I can manage multiple clients. Okay, and then we have access to all of our clients here. So from this single dashboard, which is something I really, really like, from this single dashboard, we can see a couple of really interesting things. Like, for example, we can see the last time the books were closed. You can see that right there where it says closed. So we can see the last time the books were closed. So it looks like this one was closed on December 31st, 2015. Let me zoom in here so you can see. It tells you here how many changes to the books have happened after you close the books. It tells you here how many transactions downloaded through the bank that have not been accepted or categorized. It tells you here when the banks were last downloaded. If you have payroll, if payroll is part of your service, it tells you here when was your last payroll date, and it also tells you if you have some payroll liabilities, which I don't think any of my clients do. Like no, none of them have it, but if you have a payroll liability, that would show up here as well. So that's another really interesting uh, set of tools you get from this screen. Okay, perfect. So I want to show you about something else. If I go into, I'm going to go back into that client again. If I go into Taco Truck and I specifically go into it, I can actually have my current balances of each account show up here before I log into QuickBooks, and I can get the same information in maybe in more detail. Last download, books closed, and last sign in. I can see all that stuff from here. Now, QuickBooks has a little tab here called Documents, where they're gonna insert a document management system, a place for you so you can upload files, but that's not available through this portal yet. So for the time being, if you want to upload anything into your client's file, you have to log in and use the attachment center to attach something to it. Okay, so that's the client dashboard in a nutshell. Now let's talk about managing team members. I'm going to go ahead and click on team. Okay, so I'll click on team, and these are all my employees. These are all my team members. I can create a new employee, so I can go to add user, and then I'm going to create a new employee. So let's say we have Joe Smith. Oops. So Joe Smith, and then I'll put his email address, joe@cpa.com, and then click on next. Then that person is going to get an email invite, which they must accept, and they must create their own password. But the importance of adding a team member is to choose whether or not this team member is going to have access to your firm's books. So that's a really important piece. Does that person that you're inviting also have access to the internal accounts of the accounting firm? So at that point, if the answer is no, then we're going to put none, right? We're going to put none. We can basically choose to give no access like this right now. So they can view the firm's, they can view the general information, but they can't access any of the books or access any of the accounts receivable or payable. Or if the team member has full access to the books, we'll just go to full, and that will give full access to that team member. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Let me go ahead and do a limiting one, because I did a random email there to make sure they can't access any of my clients. So then here it says specify client. So by default, every single client in your database will have a check mark, which basically means that that team member is going to be able to access every one of your clients' accounts. If I hit this little checkbox here and I uncheck all, I can specifically choose which clients they can access. So I'm going to say this team member is only going to be working on these 3 clients, and then I click on save. And then that team member will only have access to those 3 clients. Now, if I need to make edits to that team member, I can just look for the team member, click on him, and then I can go to client access and change which clients they have access to. And again, we can also change the access they have for firm administration. So that's team member. Now, basically that team member will have their own login to QuickBooks Online, but that's really important to manage, within your firm, within your company, who does what, right? That's a really important piece because, sometimes it gets confusing if everybody uses a single username and password. Okay, so that's managing team. Then there's an option here called ProAdvisor. So when you click on that, that's going to take you into your ProAdvisor portal. Now, your ProAdvisor portal is the place where we can modify your profile. So I'm going to click here on profile. You can add your picture, your name, your company information, and then you can choose whether or not this will be a public or a non-public profile. So if I click here where it says preview profile. You get to see exactly what the whole world sees if they're trying to search an accountant or a certified QuickBooks ProAdvisor near them. This is what they're going to see. So you get to pick and choose what people get to see. And assuming that you don't want to make your profile active, you can just click on public off, and then nobody will be able to see your public profile. So that's really up to you for that. But in order for that profile to show, in order for you to show as a certified QuickBooks Pro Advisor, you got to take the test and you got to pass the test. So here where it says certification, this is where you can go and take the test. You can take the online basic test or the advanced test. Now this training is not enough certification preparation for the test, but you can also click here where it says training, and then we're going to see tons of materials here, PDF materials, both for QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online, or available in here, or inside certification. If you open any of these, you're going to have access to the training module. So if I click on that, that's going to be basically a video, like a step-by-step guide or video. You can do this training on your own in order to prepare for taking the test, and so I'm just kind of, so you can see exactly what it looks like. So it's a training system like this. You hit play and you can watch a video. Yeah, sorry, just so you can see. So it's just basically all a real detailed step-by-step guide on how to use QuickBooks Online, all built into your ProAdvisor area. And also you can download the supplementary guide, which are PDFs, which is a step-by-step manual. So this is all part of the certification preparation, which I will have a slide at the end that kind of walks you through the links and stuff to be able to get to all that. And also there's going to be some webinars and some live courses you can take to even pass the exam. So there's all sorts of ways for you to get more education about QuickBooks Online. Okay, so that's the ProAdvisor Portal. Now let's talk about an area called Your Books. So this area here called Your Books, this is a built-in account just for accountants, just for the firm of the accountants. So in here, this is where you will log in as you were an end user, right? So if you want to create an invoice, as long as you are inside Your Books, you're going to see this big green bar come across the top like this, letting you know that you're logged in into an active file. You can click on the Quick Create button and you can create any new transaction you want. So I can go to Invoice and I can choose which client I want to invoice. And by the way, my client list in QuickBooks Online will also include the client list in my QuickBooks Online accountant portal. So if they added you as an accountant, then it's safe to assume that they're also your client, so you can invoice them straight from here. Now, it doesn't pull the hours that you worked on the account or anything like that. It doesn't do that yet, at least. But it includes your client in the client list. That way you don't have to do the data entry twice. Okay. Now I'm not getting too much deep into how to use QuickBooks Online itself. There's other videos and other webinars that will be for that. But this is basically Your Books would be your own internal account for your internal use, hopefully for you to manage your firm as well. Now, some people don't manage their firm through here. They just use this as a practice account, a place where they can play or go to reports and go to balance sheet and just kind of get an overall idea for what reports look like, right? So that's also something that you can use. However, for practicing, I specifically recommend for you to click on the gearbox and then click on sample company. So let's just do that real quick. I'll click on gearbox and go to sample company and then hit continue. And it's going to open an entirely separate QuickBooks file that it's available anytime you want, that contains sample data that you can really use to play with. So it's a great way for you just practice, create invoices, create checks, reconcile banks, play with QuickBooks through the sample company, because once you log out and log back in, everything gets reset in the sample company again. But at least to review reports, it's great, right? Because we go to reports and we go to profit and loss, and then you can start kind of playing with the reports and start seeing how QuickBooks works. And obviously, at the end of the day, what matters the most is the profit and loss and the balance sheet report, the purpose of our work. And so it's really, really useful to at least start playing with the reports so you get an idea more or less of what the end result of what QuickBooks can do. Let me go ahead and sign out of the sample file. All right, let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about converting from QuickBooks Desktop into QuickBooks Online. Now that's a common question that we have is my current client has QuickBooks Desktop and I want to move them to the cloud. So here when you click on the gearbox, you're going to see two options. One says import data, the other one says import desktop data. So let's go to the first one, import data. That would be for you to just upload your customer list, vendor list, chart of accounts, or item list. So whether you're going from QuickBooks on Desktop to QuickBooks Online or from some other accounting system to QuickBooks Online, you can actually import those lists. Okay, you can import those lists. But if you want to convert your entire QuickBooks Desktop file, there's a second option here that says import desktop data. And basically what this does is just gives you instructions, because from this screen, there's nothing you can do in terms of exporting. It just tells you what you must do. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to QuickBooks Desktop to show you what that looks like real quick, so just get an idea. So within QuickBooks Desktop, in order to upload my current data file into QuickBooks Online, first you have to make sure you're working on the latest version. So we're going to go to Help, Update QuickBooks, and we're going to go through that process first. Okay, so once you're in the latest version of QuickBooks, then you click on Company, Export Company File to QuickBooks Online. You click on that. Then it's going to prompt you for your QuickBooks Online accountant username and password. And as long as you have admin, master admin access to it, it will show up in here. So let me go ahead and log in. There it is. Okay. So once it's logging in, it's going to load every single QuickBooks Online account in your database that you could potentially upload your QuickBooks file to. Right. So I logged into a different one. So when you created a new client, that new client should now show up in here. And then you just follow the prompt. You click on continue, and then it's going to take usually about 30 minutes to an hour, and it's going to upload the entire database to QuickBooks Online, and it will no longer be a blank file. In other words, you don't have to deal with chart of accounts and stuff like that, because it's going to come exactly how it was in QuickBooks. But usually you wait about 30 seconds or so, 30 minutes to an hour or so, and that will go through the upload. And of course, once you log in, you should be able to see all your data up there. Now, if you go to the Cert Prep, which is a different webinar, a different session altogether, they go much more in depth about what you need to check before you do the conversion. But I was just showing you how simple it is to start the conversion process. If I just go and type QuickBooks Accountant University, okay, or I can do Accountant Academy or something like that. You can click on that first link that is there, and that's going to take you to the page where all the resources are. Okay, all the resources are. There's a whole bunch of videos here. If I click on where it says accountants and it says learn and support, so I can go to QuickBooks Help, and you can go to the support center where you can ask questions or read questions and answers that were answered from other people. Like if you want to know how to deal with a bounce check, for example, a common question, you just search it right there on the QuickBooks support, and then we're going to see a whole bunch of people asking how to deal with bounce checks. When you click on it, you can also see the answers if somebody ever answered it. This one doesn't have an answer. This one must be pretty recent, but let's go to an older question that probably has an answer. This one doesn't have it either. These are pretty recent questions. Let me go back to something that was done. This one has an answer. So somebody asked this question, whatever it is, and then another user, or in some cases some Intuit employees themselves, answer step-by-step instructions. So that's really good resource, the QuickBooks Help module. Now, what else is interesting in here? This I alluded to, Accountant University. This is where you can register for more training. So let me just go into, where are you? Let's go to Accountant Learn and Support. Okay, there it is. And then you have here where it says Accountant University. You click on that. And then from here, somewhere where it said, oh, it's here under Accountants, you can click where it says Training Events. And then all of the webinars, including this one, which is probably how you registered, they're all listed here, including the official certification prep, which there's going to be one 4-hour prep on November 18th. And there's also a virtual conference. If you go to virtual conference, which is a 2-day event next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, I believe, or Wednesday and Thursday. So you can still watch the rest of the fundamental series as normal and kind of go at your own pace. But if you really want to accelerate that process, I would attend the virtual conference that's next week on November 9th and 10th. So it's the 9th and the 10th, so Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, let's see. Somebody says, I'm confused on whether I need to pass the QuickBooks Desktop certification in order to be listed as a ProAdvisor. The answer is no. You only need to pass the online to get certified with QuickBooks Online, and you have to pay nothing. And here somebody else says these trainings are all free and available for accountants and bookkeepers. The answer is yes, absolutely right. There's also another really interesting resource here called QuickBooks, the Small Business Center. That's also more of a small business type of articles and things that have to do not just with accounting, but things that could also be insightful or interesting for your clients. So that's another good resource. So that's a really good thing to know. All right, so let's go back to the slides here and wrap up the presentation. We only got about 10 minutes left. Okay, so the next 2 sessions for QuickBooks Online Fundamentals is going to be, as I mentioned, Monday the 7th is part 2. And we're going to be covering company settings, chart of accounts, products and services, vendors, customers, bank feeds, general navigation, and QuickBooks Online accountant tools. And if I have some time now, which I think we're going to have, I'm going to go ahead and cover a few of these because those are actually really good to have. So I'm going to cover a little bit of part 2 now because we have some time. We actually went pretty fast. Then on Friday of next week, we're going to have part 3, which is going to go a little bit deeper dive into like the day-to-day transactions, expenses, sales, payroll, and working with apps. Okay, so what are the next steps? Go to the websites that I mentioned, attend the other fundamentals. You can get started right now. At the end of this webinar, you can get started, and you can even start the certification training by creating your own QuickBooks Online accountant account and going through there. As a matter of fact, maybe I should cover that because that's something that a lot of people kind of miss is, hey, how do I even get started and create my account? So I'm gonna go ahead and cover that on how you can create your account and start doing the training and getting certified right away. It's assuming you want to jump right away. And then the suggestion is start identifying which clients are a good fit to move to QuickBooks Online. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and jump back into the product here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and sign out. And let's say, for example, you don't even have an account yet. You don't have a login yet. So the question is, how do I sign up? How do I create my own account? So if you just go to QuickBooks.com, okay, and then you go into Accountants, and you click on QuickBooks ProAdvisor Program, and then you click on Choose Your Plan, and it gives you your 3 plans, the free, the deluxe, and the premium. We're going to click on Sign Up Free. Just start with a free one right away. it will ask you, well, what country is it for? Right now, it's only United States. And then you can start putting your information. So Hector's accounting firm. I can put my email here. So I'm going through the same process you would go through if you have not yet set up your account. So once you go through this entire process, you should get redirected. And basically, I'm showing you from scratch what this process would look like. Okay, and you should absolutely start this at least. Like if you haven't done this yet, this should be the very first thing that you do right now during the webinar at the same time that I'm working. Do it on the side here, or just put a note to do it later. So see, right now I signed up, brand new account, fresh, brand new account from scratch, and I can click on the ProAdvisor button, and I can click on QuickBooks Online, and then there's all my training materials that I spoke about earlier. And if I click on QuickBooks Advanced, there's also advanced materials there. They're all wonderful. You can't take the advanced exam until you at least pass the basic exam, which makes sense. But this is something you can start doing right away. If you're not comfortable with just reading the supplemental guide or watching the training modules, then you can do more things like this, by basically going into QuickBooks Training Events.com, and I'm just basically giving you the domain name, QuickBooks which will take you straight into that page I alluded to earlier, and then you can sign up through here. And I do recommend the virtual conference. If you click on virtual conference, it gives you a link for the virtual conference. The virtual conference is a 2-day web-based conference from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. You sign up through here. It's a virtual boot camp. If you go down to agenda, I'm going to click on agenda to show you. There's going to be all sorts of classes here. We're going to have Firm of the Future that talks about how to transform your practice into a modern practice, and it goes through all 5 sections. There's five sections on the exam. So it goes through all 5 sections of the exam, prepares you for it. And then there's a last class called QuickBooks Online at year end, which is a great class. It's all about closing the books at the end of the year and making all those adjustments at the end of the year. So that virtual conference is basically a long event for getting you certified with breaks in between and chat opportunities and networking opportunities all through the web. Or you can just, as I mentioned earlier, you can sign up for a 4-hour webinar course, which is going to be, I believe, on June 18. No, sorry, it's not June 8. June is not even a month. Sorry, November 18th. I don't know where that came from. That will be a 4-hour cert prep webinar course. Right? So you have enough information and resources to be able to educate yourself in QuickBooks Online. The other interesting resource out there is, and I think it's very underutilized, if you go to YouTube and you search QuickBooks Online, just search QuickBooks Online, there's, in this case, 117,000 videos, okay? Tons and tons of resources out there. If you click on the QuickBooks YouTube channel, there's a few videos there. There's some recordings of past webinars there. If you actually search my name, my YouTube channel has a lot of videos. So that's another great place for resources. Okay, so let's see what other questions I have here. Somebody says, so just to clarify, I don't have to pay anything to become certified. The answer is yes, you don't have to pay anything to become certified. Now, what are the benefits to taking the advanced exam or being advanced certified? Good question, Joel. So if you take the advanced exam, you will have a higher level of tech support through Intuit, which is actually really, really useful. You get a gold level of tech support because you did the prep work, you prepared yourself. Also, your profile gets ranked higher. So comparing yourself to a regular non-advanced ProAdvisor, you will be ranked higher in the search. So I would say in a nutshell, I mean, other than learning more and getting educated, in a nutshell, those are probably the two additional benefits. Now, somebody else is asking, this is a very loaded question. Marguerite is asking, when you go from desktop to online, does everything convert? And she puts everything in big letters. The answer is no. Converting from desktop to online has a lot of nuance, a lot of nuance. So I do recommend that you check out some of the resources on conversion. I don't know. I thought there was a dedicated page just for converting desktop to online. I don't want to experiment with the links now, but I know if you go to the YouTube, if you go to YouTube and you search QuickBooks Desktop Online Conversion, there's many videos on that, and the videos explain step by step, explain what the potential differences are, explains what some of the troubleshooting that has to be done because some data doesn't convert exact. Um, Templates like email templates, invoice templates, purchase order templates, none of the stuff converts over. So that's a really important piece. I think it's important to mention that. Very important to mention that. Somebody else is asking, you mentioned apps. What are apps, and why would you add apps to QuickBooks? That's a good one. Let me show you real quick. So if I go to apps.com, that will take me to my app marketplace, my QuickBooks Online app marketplace. And although QuickBooks Online itself can do a lot of stuff, there's a lot of things it cannot do. So what the app marketplace does, it allows you to see what else can QuickBooks Online do or what it can connect to. One of the great, awesomest examples is the Google Calendar QuickBooks integration. This app is brand new. It's just coming out. You have to opt in, and only a few people have access to it. I believe they're officially launching in December. This app allows you to sync your Google Calendar with your QuickBooks Online client database. So if you are scheduling yourself to, for example, go to a client's office to do some accounting work, you can actually create the appointment in your calendar and then use that calendar entry to create an invoice to then invoice your client. It's great. It's a great idea. It's a great example of what app can do, can really save you time. Another good app to check out is Bill.com. Bill.com is an app where you can create bills in QuickBooks, and then through a different system, through Bill.com, you can set up different permission structures for somebody else to pay it. So if you're an accountant providing full accounting services, including accounts payable management, you're going to create the bills for your clients, but you can't pay the bill in behalf of your clients. So with Bill.com, the clients can now log in, approve which bills to get paid, and electronically those bills get paid. Also, if you're working with PayPal or with Square, you can sync with those apps. You can sync those transactions, bring them into QuickBooks automatically, so you don't have to handwrite those. Also, you can manage timesheets outside of QuickBooks with an approval process as well. So we can use T-Sheets for that. Somebody else saying, does Intuit actually own apps.com? That seems like juicy real estate. Yeah, I know. Apps.com, it's Intuit's product. It's a QuickBooks product. So apps.com is not all apps in the world. It's just QuickBooks app. QuickBooks app. Somebody else is asking, is there a place to log employee mileage? So QuickBooks doesn't have an employee mileage built-in tool. I believe you can do that with Expensify. Let me go ahead and search mileage to the app. Maybe I'm spelling mileage wrong. Okay, yeah, there's a few apps there where you can enter mileage. Now, most of these apps cost, either it's an extra fee. So because QuickBooks can't do it all. But Expensify is probably the best app out there to do employee reimbursement, including mileage. But there's a couple more. I haven't used the other ones. I've only used Expensify, but that would answer your question about that. Somebody else is asking again, probably said this 10 times already, how much does it cost to take the exam? The answer is zero. It's free, no cost to become a ProAdvisor or take the exam. All right, let's wrap things up here. Thank you very much for attending. These are the things I suggested for to be the first steps. So log into your QuickBooks Online Accountant, click on the ProAdvisor link, start going through the supplemental guides and the videos, or go to QuickBooksTrainingEvents.com to sign in to either a 4-hour webinar, cert prep, or actually Intuit is touring the country. There's about 7 or 8 major cities that they're hitting for a live class. So check out to see if there's one near you, and definitely attend it. Those are great to attend. Or you can also do the QuickBooks VCon. Right now, November and December is the best time to get certified. There's a bunch of training out there, videos, webinars, live training, virtual conferences, plus getting ready for tax season. So right now, the next 2 months is the best opportunity to get certified. All right, I think I answered all the questions. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you can now go get certified in QuickBooks Online, and I'll see you on the next session.